Good morning to one and all. Welcome back to Online Education Channel by VMC. This is Vaijayanti Patil from Durbe MPS. Today we are going to deal with the second part of Introduction to Biotechnology. Before that, just recap what we have learned yesterday. We have learned about the types of connective tissue, in which we have learned about the liquid connective tissues like blood and lymph. Blood helps in transportation of nutrients, gases, as well as waste, while as lymph helps in protecting our body from the infective agents. Next was the semi-solid or jelly-like substance, in which we have studied about areolar tissue, which consists of many different types of cells, which provides support to the internal organs, as well as it helps in protecting our body from the infective agents. Then the other semi-solid connective tissue is the adipose tissue, which is found underlying the skin and around the internal organs. The cells in adipose tissue are modified to store fats in large quantity. It provides insulation. It serves as an storage of fat as well as an rich energy resource whenever the body is starving. Next was the solid connective tissues, in which we have three types. First was the cartilage tissue, which is present at the tip of our nose, ear, pinna, trachea, as well as in between the vertebral columns and at all the joints. The pad of cartilage helps in avoiding the friction between the bones, thus providing lubrication at the joint, as well as it also gives shape to the body structure. Next was the bone, which is made up of osteocytes and calcium phosphate as a ground substance. We all know our entire skeleton is made up of bone. It provides supports, helps in locomotion, as well as prevents or protects the internal vital organs like brain, liver, lungs, and the bone marrow. The last was tendons and ligaments. Now these are fibrous connective tissues. Tendons are made up of white fibers and they join muscles to the bones, whereas ligaments are the thin elastin fibers, which are thin but they are very strong, and it connects bone to bone. Let us begin with the today's session. We all know we perform different types of movements throughout the day or throughout the life. One example is playing. Second is movement of internal organs like blood circulation or pumping of heart, as well as the other internal organs like our digestive system, our reproductive system also shows a typical kind of movement. Students, we all know that walking, dancing, running, these all are the activities that we can control by ourselves. We ourselves can decide how much I want to walk, how much I want to play, and can stop after that. Such activities or such movements which are under the control of our will, they are known as voluntary movements. But certain parts of our body also shows movement which are not under our control, like pumping of our heart, which is not under our control, movement of the internal organs like the digestive tract or the reproductive tract is also not under our control. Such movements which are not under our control are known as involuntary movement. Hope you have understood the difference between voluntary and involuntary movement. Now, who brings about all this kind of movement? all the movements, may it be voluntary or involuntary. It is a characteristic of a specialized tissue in our body called muscular tissue. Now, you can see the picture on the screen. Our entire body is covered by muscles. Okay, so movement of each and every part of our body is because of the muscular movement or the muscular tissue. Muscular tissue are specialized type of tissue which is made up of special proteins known as contractile proteins. Each muscle fiber is made up of contractile protein. Due to contraction and relaxation of these proteins, we can move our body. Okay, it is because of contraction and relaxation of the muscle fibers, we can achieve different movements in our body. Let us study the characteristics of muscular tissue. Now, it is composed of muscle cell or muscle fiber. This is called as muscle fiber. It is also known as myofibrin. Muscle fibers are elongated, as you can see in this structure. It is an elongated and large fiber. It is made up of contractile protein, which are called as actin and myosin. The strands that you see on this muscle fiber, they are known as contractile protein, namely actin and myosin. Contraction and relaxation. Here we have three different types of muscular tissue. The first is striated muscles, which looks like this. Second is the smooth muscles, which look like this. And the third is cardiac muscles, which look like this. Now, let us study all these three types of muscular tissue in details. So the first one is striated muscle tissue. Yes, observe the image carefully. You can see that the structure of this muscle fiber is elongated and it is cylindrical in shape. You can notice certain dark and light bands on the muscles. These bands, dark and light bands, are called striations. Hence, these muscles are also called striated muscles. This blue color oval structure that you see on each muscle fiber, they are called as nucleus. So you can notice that there are many nucleus on the muscle fiber. Hence, it is also called multinucleated. There are no branches seen in these muscle fibers. Hence, they are unbranched. Okay, let us see these characteristics one by one. Muscle cells are long, they are cylindrical in shape, they are multinucleated, there are no branches, hence it is called unbranched. There are alternate dark and light bands on these muscles, hence they are called as striated muscles. They are attached to the skeleton. They are attached to the skeleton from the head to the tip of your toes and your hands. It is attached to the skeleton. Hence, they are also called the skeletal muscles. Striated muscles have three different names. Striated muscles, skeletal muscles, and the striated muscles and skeletal muscles. Sorry, two different names. And they can move by our will. Hence, they are also known as voluntary muscles. Movement of the skeletal muscle is under our control, and that is known as voluntary muscle. Next is location of striated muscles. Entire body is covered by the striated muscles. It is seen attached to the skeleton. It is seen attached to the entire skeleton, hence also called skeletal muscles. Functions of striated muscles. These muscles bring about each and every voluntary movement, that is movement of arms, legs, running, speaking, laughing, dancing, whatever voluntary actions that we are performing, it is performed by the striated muscles or the skeletal muscles. Next is smooth muscle tissue. Now let us see the structure first. You can notice that these are the muscle fibers. It is flat or slightly oval in the center and tapering at both the end. So when it appears this way, tapering at the one end, both the end, and flat in between or in the center, this is called as spindle shaped fiber. So smooth muscles are having spindle shaped fibers. Here you can also notice that there is only one nucleus, the dark red color oval shaped structure that you see in the center. This is called as nucleus. There is only one nucleus in one muscle fiber. This is one single muscle fiber and there is only one nucleus. In such case, it is known as uninucleated muscle fiber. So remember that smooth muscles are short, they are spindle shaped, they are uninucleated, they do not have branched. So they are unbranched. They don't show any branches, so they are unbranched. Dark and light bands are absent. There are no bands on the smooth muscles. They are not attached to the bones. And their movement is not under our control. We cannot control the movement of smooth muscles. Hence, they are called involuntary muscles. Now, let us look at the location of these striated muscles. Smooth muscles. Smooth muscles are generally found in the internal or the visceral organs, like the lining of blood vessels, digestive tract, uterus, urinary bladder, and iris of eyeball. So these are the organs in our body in which we can find smooth muscles. Remember, smooth muscles are found in blood vessels, digestive tract, uterus, urinary bladder, and the iris of eyes. Function of the smooth muscles is it helps in movement of all these organs. Now you will ask why blood vessels need to move. If you hold your finger around your wrist, you can notice the lubbed up in your wrist region. That is known as radial artery. Many times you must have seen that whenever you go to doctor and doctor is checking you, he also holds your wrist and check the pulse. Okay. So that pulsating movement of the arteries or the blood vessel is brought about by the smooth muscles so that the blood is circulated in the entire body. Similarly, when we eat food, we chew it in our mouth, but then it passes into esophagus and down into our stomach and the intestine. Food cannot move on itself. Then how will food move inside our digestive system? It is because of the rhythmic movement, which is called the peristaltic movement. It is because of the rhythmic movement of our digestive tract. The food which is immovable moves in our digestive tract. Similarly, in the uterus, the baby is expelled out or the ova is moving in the uterus. So that is all because of movement of the smooth muscles. Urinary bladder. You all know urinary bladder can store liters of the urine. It is very small in size, but as the urine is getting stored into the urinary bladder, the size goes on increasing. That increase and decrease of the size of urinary bladder is because of the stretchable smooth muscles. Movement of our eyelids, whenever you close and open your eyes, movement of the eyelids is also brought about by the smooth muscles. Now in this movement of iris or movement of all these internal organs is not under control of our will. Hence, they are involuntary movement, and smooth muscles are also called involuntary muscles. Now, the next muscle is cardiac muscle. Observe the figure carefully. Here we can see that the cell is elongated, but you can see this dark band. This is called as intercalated disc. Here, actually, in cardiac muscles, the muscle fibers are short, but these short muscle fibers are attached to each other to form the long muscles. We can see there are more than one nucleus on the muscle fiber, so it is also multinucleated. Here you can see that from this muscle fiber, one more muscle fiber is arising. From this muscle fiber, one more muscle fiber. So we can observe branching in the cardiac muscles. Hence, cardiac muscles are branched. Now let us see the characteristics of cardiac muscles. Cardiac muscle cells are cylindrical, they are uninucleated and branched. See, we have studied about the three muscles. Out of all these three muscles, only the cardiac muscle is branched muscle. We can observe light and dark bands in the cardiac muscles also. These are specialized muscles, very, very special muscles. They are found only and only in our heart. Only one organ contains cardiac muscles. That is our heart. Movement is not under our control. See, heartbeats are not under our control. Sometimes the heartbeat increases, sometimes we feel that it gets slowed down. But the normal heartbeats per minute is 72 beats per minute. Our heart beats for 72 times. In average cases, it beats for 72 times per minute so that the blood is circulated. And this movement is not under our control. If there is any change in the pumping of heart, that is heartbeat, if if there are cholesterol or the passages are blocked, in that case the number of heartbeat may increase or may get reduced. So all this leads to certain kind of problem in our body. Cardiac muscles show rhythmic relaxation and contraction. They contract and relax very rhythmatically. So you can feel your heartbeat. Just touch in your chest and feel your heartbeats. You can feel the rhythmicity of your heart, that is love and dub. Okay, that is due to contraction and relaxation of the heart or the cardiac muscles. So this is how your heart beats because of the cardiac muscle. Remember, movement of the cardiac muscle is not under our control. So it is involuntary, and function of the cardiac muscle is contraction and relaxation of the heart. The next topic is nervous tissue. Now, nervous tissue. In which part of our body do we find the nervous tissue? We find the nervous tissue in our entire body. Brain is a major center of nervous tissue. It is made up of the nervous tissue, and its branches goes into our entire body. In each and every sensory organ, we all know sensory organ, that is skin, eyes, nose, ears, tongue. All these are sensory organs, and the opening of these neurons is present in all these tissues. So we all know entire body is covered by the skin. In the internal organs, everywhere nervous tissue is connected. Now, you can observe in this animation that this girl is touching the hot object, and as soon as she touches the hot object, something is happening. Now, what is that something? She will immediately withdraw her hand as soon as she touches the, we all know that even we even touch the hot object, if it is very hot, we take our hand back, we pull our hand back. Now, this is a reflex action. But why does this occur? It occurs because of the sensation. Sensory cells in our skin gets excited and they produce an electric impulse, which impulse is then carried out from the nervous tissues to the brain, and from the brain or from the interneurons to the effector organ, that is muscles of the hands. In this case, muscles of the hand. Skin is a sensory neuron. Skin has a sensory neuron which senses. The impulse is generated. Impulse is carried out by the neuron, and the reflection is given by the effector organ, that is the muscles. And as in reflection, the hand is pulled back. Okay, this occurs because of nervous tissue. Now, let us study about this nervous tissue in detail. This is called neuron. Neuron is the fundamental unit of nervous tissue. It consists of the cell body, the axon, and these small branches which are called dendrites. Neuron may vary in shape, size, and even number. Now, depending upon their function and location, the same shape and the size of the neuron may be different. Neurons have three different parts. First is cell body, second is dendrite, and third is axon. Basic structure, you understand, this is the basic structure of neuron, which is a building block of nervous tissue. It is made up of three parts. A cell body, this is a cell body. dendrites. These are the small branches that are coming out of the cell bodies, and the axon. Now let us study each one of these in detail. The first is nerve cell or the cell body. Now, this is also known as soma. The cell body is also called as soma, and it is the core of neuron. It maintains the structure and provides energy to drive activities. Nucleus contains the genetic information. This is the nucleus in the center. It contains DNA and RNA, which is called as genetic material, which contains the genetic information. Around the nucleus are present small dots, which are known as Nizel's body. Nizel bodies are actually the rough endoplasmic reticulum, which helps in generation of the energy. Second structure is axon. This part is called as axon. It is nothing but the extension of cytoplasm. It is the longest extension of the cyton or the cell body. It is a tube-like structure that carries impulse from cell body to the axon terminal, thus passes the impulse to another neuron. Now just go back to that GIF in which when the girl touches the hot object in the skin, the impulse is generated, which passes on to the interneuron and then to the effector organ. Okay. So as soon as our body receives any stimuli, impulse is generated within the cell body, which is then transferred through the axon to the next neurons and thus completing the chain. Next part is dendrites. And what is dendrites? This small or the short outcomes of the cell body, they are known as dendrites. You can see the structure, they are very much branched. They are not like axon, they have many branches. These very thin branches, it helps in receiving the message or receiving the stimuli. Okay. And it also allows transmission of message to the cell body. Next is myelin sheath. Now what is myelin sheath? See, in this figure, you can see blue cover around the axon. The yellow structure is axon, that is extension of cytoplasm. And this blue color structure that you see around the axon is known as myelin sheath. Here, see, it is enlarged for you. This yellow color structure is known as myelin sheath. So it is a specialized covering around the axon. Now what happens because of the presence of myelin sheath? It helps in quick passage of the message or quick passage of the impulse. Whenever the impulse is generated, it quickly passes on because of this presence of myelin sheath. The impulse, they jump from one and the other, and hence it is passed on in faster speed. As you can see in this GIF, see the movement of impulse. This is impulse. It is passing. See, here it is going slowly, but here it is going very rapidly down. So that is the difference. Presence of myelin sheath increases the speed of the impulse. Speed of the impulse passing from one neuron to the other neuron, as well as it also forms a protective covering around the axon. Now, function of nervous tissues. As I said, nervous tissues are very special. They are made to get excited and conduct that excitation from one part to the other part. Here again, I would say just come back to this image. You all see, impulse is, as soon as the impulse is received, the neurons get excited and the impulse is generated. This is the impulse which is passing from one neuron to the other neuron. See, from the axon, the impulse is passed on to the cell body of other neuron. Again, that impulse is carried forward to the other neuron and the chain is completed. And then a response is given by our body part. So the neurons are specially made to get excited and conduct that excitation from one part to the other part. Nervous tissues helps us to respond to the stimuli, whatever the stimuli might be, whatever we receive from our environment or even within our body through the different sensory organs like your skin. From skin, we get the stimuli of touch. From our ears, we can hear the sound. By the nose, we can smell the odor. By our eyes, we can see the colors. Okay, or we can see even the shape of the object. So all these are the stimuli which are received by the body by the sensory neurons present in our sensory organs. It senses the change within our body. As I said, sensory organs or the sensory neurons, they are also present in our internal organs. And if there is any change in the internal structure, for example, water level, sometimes the water level goes high, sometimes the water level goes low. Here I could give you an example. See, during rainy season, we drink less water. Okay, why? Because the moisture content of the air is more and hence we don't lose water through sweating and all, because of which the excess of water is getting accumulated in our body, then which is removed out of the urine, and hence we feel less thirsty during the rainy season or the winter season. But exactly opposite occurs in the summer season. When the day is sunny, it is very hot, our body starts sweating, we lose lots of water through the sweat. So as we are losing, the water content in our body is getting lower. So as that water content in our body starts coming down, we will start feeling thirsty. So even the change in our internal system is recognized by the sensory neurons, and accordingly our body responds. The feeling of hunger, whenever our stomach is empty, we feel hungry, or at particular time we feel hungry. It is all because of the sensory neurons that are present in our body. So this is the function of nervous tissue. What is it? It is getting excited on receiving the stimuli. It passes on that excitation from one part of the body to the other part of the body. It receives the stimuli through the sensory organ, and it not only the outsider stimuli, but it also senses any kind of change that is occurring inside our body, and it helps our body to respond to the stimuli. Now, what is the location of this nervous tissue? They are spread throughout our body. Nervous tissues are found majorly in brain and spinal cord, and then the branches coming out of all this, the nerves cover all the parts of our body. You can see this in this image. Major location is brain and the spinal cord, and then the network of the nerves that are coming out of the brain and spinal cord, It will cover our entire body. So this is all. Now just let us quickly recap what we have studied today. We have learned about the muscular tissue, which helps our body for movement. In this first, we have studied the striated muscles, or also known as skeletal muscles. They are elongated, cylindrical, unbranched, multinucleated. They show dark and light bands, hence they are called as striated. Location, if we talk about the striated muscles, they are found attached to the entire skeleton of the body. Hence, they are also called as skeletal muscles. Function of the skeletal muscle or the striated muscle is it helps in movement of carry out all the voluntary movements, like movements of arms, hands, running, talking, whatever. All the voluntary muscles are covered up by the skeletal muscles. The second type of muscle fiber that we have studied was the smooth muscles. Smooth muscles are spindle shaped, that is flat in the middle and tapering at both the ends. They are small in size and they are uninucleated. Now, the smooth muscles are found in the internal organs of our body. Internal organs like our digestive system, urinary bladder, then we have a reproductive system, blood vessels. In all these internal organs, we have the lining of smooth muscles. So it helps in movement of internal organs, like movement of food in the digestive tract, movement of the ova in the reproductive tract, movement of the eyelids, and even the movement of blood in the blood vessels is possible because of the movement of smooth muscles. The third type is cardiac muscles, which are very specialized muscles and they are found only in the heart of our body. They are cylindrical. We all see this. They are branched and they are also uninucleated. Cardiac muscles also show dark and light bands on it, but they are involuntary in nature. We cannot control the movement of cardiac muscles. It controls, function of cardiac muscle is it controls the movement of heart or contraction and relaxation of heart. Now here is the assignment for you all. Now you will have your semester exams soon. So please study these questions. Why striated muscles are called voluntary muscles? I hope you have got this answer by now. As the movement of striated muscles are not under control of our will, they are called voluntary muscles. What are functions of smooth muscles? They are found only in the internal organs. So movement of the internal organs like digestive tract, reproductive tract, blood vessels, iris of the eyeballs is brought about by the smooth muscles. Next is complete the following table. Here is the answer for this. First one is the striated muscle, which has elongated cylindrical shape. Are present and it is also involuntary in nature. So you all can just take a screenshot of this so that you can learn these answers, or it is also given in your textbook. About the nervous tissue, this is the structure of the nervous tissue. Students, you have to practice this diagram labelings. You may get this diagram to label, sorry. So this labeling, especially at least the three main parts you should be able to label. That is the cell body, the dendrites, the axon, and the fourth one is nucleus. So if you get this for 2 marks, you should be able to label. Even practice, especially those who want to go for science, they should practice doing this diagram because it is again there in your further classes. By this, I end this lecture. Thank you all for listening to the lecture quietly.